Hello, Eric Walzakowski here, CEO of Bespoke Partners and host of Tailored Talent. Today, I am joined by Alisha Lyndon, founder and CEO of Momentum and author of the ABM Effect. Alisha, welcome to the show.
Eric, fabulous to be here. Really great to be with you.
Well, I appreciate the time you make. And today we're here to talk about the Chief Marketing Officer and their role. Given we focus on private equity, talk to me a little bit about the Chief Marketing Officer role, why it's such a great time to be a CMO in private equity as it relates to value creation.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we work with a number of CMOs across portfolio companies. I think it's exciting on a number of levels. One is there's this real path to value creation, this North Star, if you will, of here's where we need to get to in the next three to 5 years. So there's real ambition, and marketing has a huge role to play in that. So big opportunity for CMOs. I think there's also the fantastic opportunity within, if you compare startups right through to global enterprises, a lot of portcos sit somewhere in between. So you end up with the resources and a lot of the access of large organizations or larger organizations, yet you're still really close to the business. So you can have the focus of a small business with the resources of a much larger firm. And I just kind of love the idea of marketing being much closer to the business, CMOs having a seat at the boardroom table, being an executive in the business. And I think PE-backed businesses give a really unique opportunity to do that.
No, fantastic. What's interesting when I think about Bespoke Partners, my chief commercial officer is actually a chief marketing officer by training. And I really enjoy that because of the deep strategy, skills, expertise, understanding of a market that Boone brings to our team. But what's interesting when you think about value creation within private equity firms, go-to-market is almost in every value creation plan that a firm has. But when we think about the go-to-market role, most times people think about the CRO or sales. So talk to me a little bit more about the importance of the chief marketing officer in that roles. And I know you've written a lot about account-based strategies and the like. So tell me a little bit more about the importance of the CMO in that value creation plan as it relates to go-to-market.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the CMO has a critical role to play. Revenue is one aspect, and making sure the revenue engine is flying from a CRO perspective. But I think CMOs have a critical role in understanding how clients are buying, how customers are buying, what their needs are, and how as an organization you can build relationships, you can build reputation, and ultimately create that path to revenue. So I think really eyes and ears of the market, how that plays into positioning, messaging, the whole enablement piece. I mean, what we're seeing increasingly from large organizations in that buying process is they want access to SMEs, they want access to executive team members. And I think CMOs have a role to play in not only building out campaigns and go-to-market, not only building out the brand, but also equipping everybody in the organization to be articulating value in a way that really resonates with the customer. I think they're really uniquely placed to do that. And ultimately, what that's going to do is help add velocity to deal cycles, help win more organizations and accounts as customers, and also go through to retain and grow those customers as well. So I think huge opportunity for CMOs to add a lot of value. I think they bring a unique skill set in that customer insight, particularly as it then translates into your value proposition and as an organization, how you stay in touch with the market to maximize market opportunity.
No, fantastic. And I couldn't agree with you more. Just this enterprise strategic value that a really good chief marketing officer brings to the overall go-to-market thesis, the overall strategy of the value creation plan, and just really appreciate that insight. And of course, we're benefiting from that at Bespoke Partners, given that Boone is a chief marketing officer who's playing the role of head of commercial. So when I think about the classic chief marketing officer, and we think about the private equity environment, private equity is driven by KPIs. Let's clip down. How do we measure it? Talk to me about some of the common KPIs related to a chief marketing officer and a value creator.
Yeah, sure. The traditional playbook has been very lead focused, and it's been very much about the funnel, if you will. So really thinking about getting as much in at the top and sales converting what flows out on the other end. So there's been this metric focus of kind of growth at all costs. I think what's becoming more and more central to a lot of value creation theses, lots of investment documents that I'm seeing is actually how do you anchor the whole business to drive performance? So moving away from this growth at all costs methodology and really focusing on building a sustainable growth model. So that means a couple of things. One is winning the right types of clients and making sure that growth is sustained over time. There's not a kind of huge hockey stick and then a big drop off. And the second piece is around retention and making the most of that customer retention, also then to drive advocacy. So the way that we think about the measurement model and something we're advocating in value creation teams and CMOs is this idea of the 3 R's. So the first being around relationships. So are you as an organization expanding your relationships, expanding the reach of relationships within your prioritized set of accounts? Secondly, reputation. So are you perceived in a way that really supports your full land and expand strategy? Are you positioned in a way that really creates maximum opportunity sizes as well? And then thirdly, it's about revenue. So adding pace to deals. We're in a world where we are team selling. It isn't marketing passing the baton to sales. And critically, as we look at revenue metrics, for us, it's about driving pipeline pace, but also making sure that pipeline is converting. I think in today's buying process, we're seeing a lot of noise in the pipeline. We're hearing from the Global 2000 that they're shortlisting more providers than ever before. So a lot of deals are going in that will never go anywhere. So really making sure that there's one team and there's one dream of the revenue ambition and how that then flows through to margin as well. So I would strongly advocate anchoring in business metrics first and foremost. And then some of the more traditional marketing metrics are really about channel and tactic performance rather than how a chief marketing officer is driving business impact.
No, I appreciate it. And I love the idea of the 3 R's. And I think that to me, it's really easy for folks to conceptualize around relationships. And if you were to categorize the customers you're going after and how you increase the number of those relationships. So I think that's a very intuitive one. I think the revenue piece of it, obviously, that's intuitive. Talk to me a little bit more about the reputational aspects of it. Is that retention? Is it NPS? How are you thinking about measuring reputation scores?
I mean, I think reputation is fascinating in private equity-backed businesses, typically because there is lots of inorganic growth. So if you have an M&A strategy and you're acquiring 6 new businesses, how do you make sure that you're also driving organic growth by further penetrating your customer base? How are you cross-selling, upselling, land and expand, driving multi-threaded deals in your accounts? And that's a big focus, certainly that I'm seeing across P. Would love to get your thoughts on what you're seeing, Eric. And as that relates to reputation, you have to earn the right to be able to go in and sell offering A if you're known for offering B in particular accounts. And a big part of that is around the kind of thought leadership, the positioning, the overall value proposition, the mind share, that kind of mental availability that you're building with your buyers. So reputation can be measured in a few different ways. At a pure revenue and hard numbers perspective, one way to look at it is how many of your accounts are actually buying new service offerings or new product offerings, how many of them have got multi-threaded opportunities or existing footprint that you now have. And then clearly there's the other measurements that are well known around CSAT that you touched on and NPS and the such like, but those are probably more of a lagging indicator rather than the leading indicator of we are now opening up new types of opportunities. We're opening up new types of buying centers that we didn't have access to before. And that, a lot of this comes down to marketing's role in driving message consistency and channel consistency. I often talk about trust is earned in droplets and lost in bucket loads, and sometimes a kind of CSAT study or customer interviews that typically are conducted during a DD process, they're a great snapshot in time, and that's how customers feel there and then. But you want to make sure that you're building the right kind of reputation, the right kind of brand within your customers, so that they can come back to you and you're able to take them on the same journey that you're building, particularly as it relates to organic and expansion growth within your customers.
No, absolutely. And I mean, it's very consistent with, I think, what we're seeing when we're building executive teams and the scorecards and KPIs that relate to those executive teams is, in the world we play of software, everything tends to play off of ARR, retention of that, and growth in the actual retention metrics. And I think, to me, that when you build the metrics off that, I think you're really aligning with what the private equity firms are trying to achieve within software. But I want to come back to something you mentioned around trust. Because in this macro market environment, where, as you say, the Fortune 2000 is really creating smaller short lists of people they're working with, I don't think we see a lot of pure-based market expansion for services. I think while we're looking for capital efficient growth, I think the buyers are also looking for must have versus nice to have. And talk to me a little bit about marketing's role in setting up for success there, and the trust elements that really go into, well, if I'm going to spend $1 here today, you're the firm I want to spend $1 with.
Yeah, sure. I mean, something we've been tracking for a long time. We run a study called the Client Buying Index, where we talk to the Global 2000 and figure out what sales and marketing strategies are really resonating, what's really the kind of path to revenue, if you will, what's helping organizations land business. And buying is getting harder. With the Global 2000 tell us that in large opportunity sizes, so $500,000 and above, it's harder for them to get to an investment decision. That building of the consensus, getting to agreement across the buying team is becoming more challenging. And I think the trust dynamic at a macro level, you're absolutely right. We see it every day in our personal lives and our professional lives, that the trust is diminishing, and with trust in decline more broadly, that has a big impact on the types of providers you're going to, the sorts of elements that you need in terms of reassurance and confidence from providers and suppliers if you really are going to work with them. The way that I think about it, Eric, is there's two dimensions here. There's new relationships, or going out to a new provider that you've never worked with before, and existing providers. And quite often in private equity, in the portcos, it tends to be greenfield expansion, new logo acquisition. And in many ways, you're starting from on the back foot. There's no history, there's no context, so you're having to build trust one droplet at a time. And the role that marketing can play in that is significant. Trust is about showing up consistently. It's about adding value at every transaction, every interaction. It's about making sure that you're thinking and listening, and you're applying critical thinking to what you're hearing and seeing to connect the dots for your accounts and customers. Marketing has access to a vast array of data, both in terms of market data, account data, thinking about some of the frameworks within marketing as well, of how to then take that data and apply value to customers. So I think that this idea of how marketing CMOs can really leverage data on their customers to respond and proactively get ahead of client needs to drive that trust. So I think marketing has a really big role to play in helping organizations penetrate markets and make sure that trust is getting built over time.
No, fantastic. And I appreciate the analogies around building trust. And it's the kind of the way I look at it is it's one activity at a time. So when I'm with a client, I always try to make a contract about something I'm going to do, following up on the meeting to start that journey of building trust. And it amazes me how many people overlook the importance of trust in the selling situation. One of the things that we hit on is the market has shifted it away from this growth at all costs methodology to capital efficient growth. Can you expand a bit on client retention and sustained growth and how that relates to a more moderated, capital efficient way of growth?
Yeah, sure. I think if we rewind back 4 or 5 years ago, there was a big focus on software businesses, SaaS businesses, winning customers, and that was the key metric for many CMOs. In fact, one of the CMOs that sits on our advisory board joined a recently invested PE-backed business. And the first thing that we were able to work on with her was this idea of analyzing the cost of acquisition. And it was costing them more to win these customers. So BDR effort, marketing effort with all the kind of paid media and all that good stuff, than that customer was generating in their lifetime, because their churn was also quite high. So high cost of acquisition, churn, kind of a bit of a mixed bag. So I think from a private equity perspective and a portcos, this idea of don't just invest to win revenue. Let's make sure it's the right kind of revenue, and this revenue we stand the best chance of building on over time. That retention, but then also how that retention converts into advocacy. So the most successful CMOs in certainly SaaS businesses that are PE backed that I'm working with, there's this real emphasis on winning clients, winning new accounts that then also help attract a whole heap of other accounts because of their either their advocacy in the market or some of the marketing strategies that CMOs are then able to deploy to really tap into those customers, co-creating with those customers, drawing in their network to open up new opportunities. So I think it's not just about filling up the pipeline with lots and lots of potential opportunities. It's about attracting the right types of accounts to begin with that are going to drive profitable revenue. And then secondly, it's about placing enough balance on retention and further expansion, not just going after greenfield and net new. And I'd encourage everyone to look at, cost of acquisition. I know is a hot topic amongst PE, but often within marketing and BDR, where the focus and the metric for a CMO has been how many new customers have we generated, actually really thinking about how much does it cost for us to win those customers, and is it really worth it when it flows that down to EBITDA?
No, absolutely. And it's very clear to me in a tight environment where it's not growth at all costs, the importance of data in making sound decisions and how marketing officers can drive that. And it's ironic sometimes to think about in tight markets, the marketing officer is one of the first roles to go, or one of the first, hey, that's nice to have, it's not must have.
Yeah.
But yet when I think about it, there's no better time to invest in a strong marketing officer than a tight market, because you're going to get your strategy right, and you're going to make sure that there's data behind every decision you make. And so I couldn't agree more with the importance of that marketing officer in value creation. This has been a phenomenal session and very timely, Alisha, given the market dynamics and the need of capital efficient growth. Maybe you could come back, because I'd really like to dive into best practices on how things are being deployed, and frankly, how firms can work with your firm as they achieve value creation.
I'd love to. I really enjoyed the conversation, Eric. I think you're certainly at the sharp end of some of the key roles these portcos need to bring in. I don't know, go-to-market value creation, as you say, it's top priority. So love to keep the conversation going.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate it, Alisha. Have an amazing day.